Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the SHR Media Network's coverage of President Trump speaking from the Oval Office this evening. There's a lot to talk about. It's going to be interesting to see what the topics are and what President Trump is going to be saying exactly. My name's Sean. I am your host for the evening. I am the host of The Edge of Liberty right here in SHR Media. I also write on shrmedia.com, and I've made guest appearances on other podcasts. So tonight, reports are that President Trump is going to talk about, and I'm watching all the networks, and as soon as the stream goes live, I will bring it live. But there's speculation that Trump's going to talk about all the accomplishments of the administration so far. And that could be anything from the economy and approval ratings, foreign policy, plans for the 2026, what he sees coming forward. I don't know if President Trump is going to be talking about the reports of or mention at all the reports of Dan Bongino stepping down in January as assistant director of the FBI. There's some speculation he may be talking about his plans with Venezuela. That's yet to be seen. There's so much going on right now overall that it's hard to really speculate one way or the other. And on top of it all, it's Trump, right? I mean, like him or hate him, the guy has a tendency not to read from an overall script and kind of does what Trump does. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm waiting to see which feed pops live first. In the past with these speeches, Trump is much more even keeled, I guess is a good point of good way to put it. He's not as Trumpian as he normally is. He knows he's addressing the nation. He's doing it in his official capacity. He's not out having, meeting the people and having the conversation. That being said, like I just finished saying a moment before, it is President Trump, and it could be anything at any time with President Trump. And we've seen that plenty of times. Thank you to everyone's in the chat room. If you want to join the chat room, you can do so. Go to SHR Media's YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search SHR Media. You'll see the circle. It's all lit up red. You can click on that. It'll bring you to the live stream. You can get in the live chat. We already have Canada Heavy Hall, River of Common Sense. River of Common Sense is speaking for two people, obviously. Both he and Mrs. Reaver. So if you want to talk to somebody who sounds like he has a dual personality, that would be the place to do so. And you could be in there as well as you want to be. The broadcast is supposed to go live at 8 p.m. Pacific. They're usually pretty good in these sort of setups of getting them there on time, getting him live on time. Hopefully he stays with that. But you never know. I'll cover some news, and I'm going to be talking about some of this more this evening on the Edge of Liberty at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. The House passed HR 6703. Excuse me. It is the Republican health care bill, and they did not, to my shock, extend the Obamacare cuts. They do have some improvements. I don't think it went further enough, and I'll talk about that tonight as well. Of course, there's the Brown University just debacle that I will talk about this evening. That alone is I am disappointed, and I feel sorry for the victims, because if you watch any of these press conferences, in no way, shape, or form would you feel like your local law enforcement department is doing enough to protect you. And it's sad. There's obviously a whole bunch of speculation. Also on the show tonight, we'll talk about a little bit, something happened in Bellevue, Washington. We'll talk about Ilhan Omar and, just in general, my usual shenanigans. But yeah, now we just wait. I may step away for just a second while we wait. It's just not a lot happening right now, unfortunately. I had to start a few minutes early. I wanted to start 5 minutes early. As you can see, I had about 5 minutes material ready to go. And unfortunately, the streaming system only allows me to do 15-minute increments. So I could not start 5 minutes to go. The Dan Bongino thing is interesting to me. There's a lot of speculation about why he's walking away. And I think the reality is, I do not feel like he was taken off the leash enough. And I think that's what he'll eventually come out and say. Now, everyone's going to say, well, talk about what you couldn't say, talk about what you could say, yada, yada, yada. The reality of the fact is he can't. Um, I know people are going to want him to say a whole bunch of stuff. Um, but reality is he won't be able to. There's non-disclosure agreements, there's classified information. He will say some things, sure. He'll say what he can get away with, absolutely. Um, but he's also got to protect himself and his kids. So before everyone thinks that he's just going to get out and all of a sudden start just dumping all of the secrets, so to speak, that's not going to happen. Um, I think Dan went in with an understanding and an expectation that wasn't met. And I don't think he likes working, not being able to live up to the word that he said he was going to live up to. So we will see. We'll see if that gets mentioned tonight. I know Trump getting off the helicopter today, Marine One, did say that he wished him well and that he thinks he wants to go back to broadcasting, which is probably true. Um, Maybe he feels he was being more effective behind the camera and the microphone than he was doing in the office. And it's entirely possible that what he was brought in to do, which was essentially reorganize and structure the FBI and get it working in a much better functioning manner, um, it's possible that he met the goal that he wanted to meet. So we'll see about that. There's definitely a lot, a lot that's going to come out of that, and there's speculation. There's also the Susie Wild Vanity Fair thing, which I just think was stupid. I don't know why that interview even happened, but it did, and the fallout from that's been pretty incredible. President Trump today was at Dover for the dignified transfer of the remains for the two National Guard members that were killed in Syria. He got back from that about 2 hours ago. Um, so they are home. Sad that they were lost, but they are home now. And hopefully their family can start to heal as well. So yeah, we're gonna wait. I'm gonna do myself a favor and see if I can dig up a feed early. See if one kicks on a minute early. I will be back right after this. And I'm back on a thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So none of the feeds are popping up yet, which is not uncommon. Usually they go about a minute before he talks, sometimes longer. It just depends on who's running the broadcast tonight. I hope you're doing well. And also, please do me a favor. We are at 697 subscribers on YouTube. We're trying to get over the line. It's 700's the line for us before the end of the month. It would be amazing if we could blow past that. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thank you. You can also follow us on X. Just search SHR Media. And not only will you come up with all the hosts, but you'll also come up with the SHR Media main X handle. And we're also on Truth Social and Getter and Facebook. So follow us on any of those outlets. We would greatly appreciate that. Still a lot of information coming out of Bondi Beach. The history behind that's been pretty disturbing. Um, the reaction of the Australian government is not shocking, but it is alarming as to what they want to do versus what they should be doing. I'm just seeing if anything popped up yet. It should be any minute now. In about 2 minutes. 2 minutes is what they're saying. And I hope they give us time. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it'll just be he's already in front of the camera and talking, and they won't give us that 30-second to get it up. And other times they give you plenty of time. So we'll wait and see. I do apologize to everyone who's watching for not being BZ and covering this. Apparently, the chat room is really, really upset that I am not, in fact, BZ. So I apologize. That wasn't that really wasn't my choice that I am not BZ. I just happened to not be BZ. Yeah, Elon Omar earlier today was on, I think it was CNN with Wolf Blitzer, one of the safe places, talking about how Trump's new travel ban is somehow inhumane. And it just shows you the odd entitlement by some people, because outside this country, you don't have a right, unless you're a citizen, to come into this country. You just don't have that right. It's a privilege. And you look at it's up to what, 39 countries right now? Yeah, 39 countries right now. Some of them are obvious: Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, which is amazing that we're the Syrian quote unquote president in the White House, but we won't allow people to travel from there. Um, you also have Chad, Libya, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, Somalia. And the fact that, like, and I get, as much as I hate to give any cover to Elon Omar, I get that she has to go out this, right? Politically, her constituents are demanding that she says something, but I don't understand how you can honestly sit in front of the camera and say, oh, this is inhumane. Most of these countries, you have the ability to still apply uh, um, for protection in the country. You could apply as a refugee. A lot of these countries, we have refugee processing on the ground. So I don't understand the idea of it being inhumane just because you don't like it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, if you could phrase it a million other ways, but for her to phrase it as inhumane is ridiculous, especially with, even now, we're still one of the most generous countries in the world, and the amount of money that we give to a lot of these countries that you still can't travel here for is absolutely incredible. We're still dumping money into the Taliban. I was just talking about that on my show last week, and they're still trying to pass. They're still trying to do it. They're still trying to give them money. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. So it's 5:01. unless he is somewhere that I cannot see. They have not started the feed yet. I'm just checking a couple other places. Yeah, it doesn't appear that he's made it to the podium yet, or that they've turned on the camera in the office, I should say, because it will be coming from the Oval Office, most likely. So we'll keep checking, and then we'll carry it. I'm not seeing anything pop out yet. If you're in the chat and you have something that I don't, please feel free to send it over. The thing I see in the chat is more rants for somebody else to be hosting this, which, is always what you want to see when you're hosting a segment. I know Jersey Joe's in the chat. Jersey Joe, can you just check with networks and see if any of them are carrying it? If just want to make sure we're not missing it. Thank you, Joe. So if you want to join the chat for this speech, in which as soon as it starts, I will be getting out of the way. I will summarize a little bit at the end, but I will talk about this entire speech tonight on my show on the Edge of Liberty, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here, where you're watching from. Wherever you're watching from, you'll be able to see my show at 8 p.m. And it appears the White House is running late. Which happens, unfortunately. Venezuela will be a major topic tonight. I know that's going to be a major topic. Trump put out a big post on Truth Social about Venezuela. I think, was it this morning? It might have been yesterday afternoon. Let me see if I can find it. It was yesterday. Okay, I wonder if it was delayed. Yesterday, President Trump posted Truth Social. Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America, and it will only get bigger. And the shock to them will be like nothing they've never seen before. Until such time as they return the land of the United States of America, all of the oil and other assets that they previously stole from us. The illegitimate Maduro regime is using oil from these stolen oil fields to finance themselves, drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping. For the theft of our assets and many other reasons, including terrorism, drug smuggling, human trafficking, the Venezuelan regime has been designated a foreign terrorist organization. That's the Maduro regime. Therefore, today I am ordering a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. Oh, I had it at 8 p.m. Is it really going to be 9 o'clock? Well, well, well. Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of other people had it at 8 PM today too, and I guess they did change it to 9, or maybe the information I got was erroneous, but I had it written down for 8 PM, and I know other people were ready to carry it at 8 PM. So what to do, what to do? Let me finish reading Trump's Truth Social. The illegal aliens and criminals that the Maduro regime have sent into the United States during the weak and inept Biden administration are now being returned to Venezuela at a rapid pace. Americans will not allow criminals, terrorists, or other countries to rob, threaten, or harm our nation. And likewise, we will not allow a hostile regime to take our oil, land, or other assets, of which all must be returned to the United States immediately. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Let's see. So in a minute, Della Pauline on Facebook is reminding me that my information must have been erroneous. Interesting. I'm not saying you're wrong, because clearly you're not. But it's funny that others that I spoke to, no apologies needed, Della. Others I spoke to thought it was 8 PM too. So, I mean, I can, well, I can do a couple things here. Hold on a second. I know Jersey Joe's going to join me here shortly. And we're all waiting for that. I'm going to throw it over to the house for a minute. The house is live.
What
I want
happened
to
in our
bore everyone to
society
tears,
if
but I
someone
just want to make
who's
sure that
used a synthetic opioid,
I'm getting caught up in everything. So
it's rewired their brain, and one of the ways we help them get through rehab? How about if you're the police officer who doesn't have to worry about having Narcan close by? The other challenge I will give you is go look up a couple of the articles that are about Philadelphia and some of the animal tranquilizers, and this is beyond the nazepines, and I think that's spelled with an X. It's a whole nother category that make it almost impossible to detox because the cravings are so violent. And once it starts in the East Coast, it's coming across the country. I beg of everyone here to start to think about what happens if our ability to help bring a solution, that's a drug solution to help our brothers and sisters and protect our first responders, because so far, the data on, let's call it a fentanyl vaccine, it's 92 to 98% effective. What if this were worth a few $100 billion in economic savings in our society in a single year? So repeatedly I come here and I talk about, helping our brothers and sisters with obesity, the technology that you can walk around and have a medical lab attached to your body. But here's some of the others when I've talked about biology and synthetic biology and other solutions. They're out there. But how do I get the brain trust around here to come together and say, we're going to take all these ideas and build a unified theory. And this unified theory is how we crash the price of health care. instead of spending a couple more years arguing back and forth of how much more money we should borrow to hand out as subsidies, particularly to insurance companies. That's my simple theory I'm trying to sell, is there are solutions. They're complex. Actually, you got to read a lot of long articles and try to understand what's going on. You got to stop being afraid, and you got to stop protecting incumbent business models that are terrified of having cures, solutions, better and faster ways to do it, and the use of technology. But if we get rid of that fear and start doing what's moral and economically rational around here, we're in the time of miracles. All right, Mr. Speaker, with that, I'm going to let you go back to your lives. I yield back.
It's back. Does the gentleman have a motion?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House stand adjourned.
Just read this. The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you.
You know, just when I need a group of political windbags to buy me some time and talk, which is what they love to do the most. I know I'm getting political. Just when I need just a little oomph, just them to kill a little bit of time for me until the president speaks in 45 minutes, they adjourn early. Now, if this was a regular night, they'd be sitting up there flapping their gums until who knows when, midnight their time, sometimes. But no, the night where I'm like, the House is going to bail me out. The House is going to talk for a little bit, and that gives me time until 9 when the president's going to go live. And yeah, here we are. Right now, going on at Bondi Beach, there are mourners who are laying flowers in a tribute. I don't know if you saw that one of the memorial gatherings was interrupted by a pro-Palestinian protester. That was awesome, and I don't mean that seriously. You would think when you're going to a memorial for a bunch of victims of a mass shooting, especially who were targeted for being Jewish, you would think that somebody would show you or something in your brain would trigger and say, hey, this may not be the best place for you to show up. And yet there's an angry white female liberal woman who did it. Now, when he's ready and he'll give me the high sign, Jersey Joe's just about to be on and he's going to join me and we'll get caught up on things. It's good because Joe hasn't been on for a while. So it'd be good to have him back and hear him talk a little bit about when he's coming back full time. If you haven't checked out shrmedia.com, there's a lot of great articles there. Joe and I and Earl and BZ have been writing a bunch. Some of it's just straight news stuff, just updates. As a matter of fact, if it's in the news column, if it's not marked op-ed cleanly, then it is a straight news report. In other words, you're just getting the facts in a descriptive manner. You're not getting an opinion. We're not jading it left or quote unquote right. People say, well, you're a conservative news network. Of course, your news is going to be right. No. Actually, that's untrue. Our straight news is straight news. And we do that for a reason. We need to be able to separate, and I wish all networks would do this. Ken Heavy Hall. They don't care about anything outside their own bubble. He's talking about the protesters in Australia. Yeah, sadly, you're right. They do not. And everything's about getting their point across and what's important to them and they don't care that people were massacred and that they're at a memorial for those people. But yeah, so if you're reading shrmedia.com, if you're getting straight news, and Della and Facebook said she appreciates SHR, and we appreciate Della for being with us at SHR. But yeah, our news segments are just news. Our opinion segments are heavily opinionated. None of us hide that, and we won't. I mean, we host shows, all of us do. Of course, we have our opinions. But as a network, we want to give you the facts and let you deduct with your own brain power what is good or bad about the story, or what needs to be looked at more, or what you're concerned with. We need you to decide. It's not that portion of SHR is not, in fact, opinion. You may not like some of the facts that are in those stories. Usually the left doesn't, but it is actually in our it is factual. We just extrapolate the facts from a story, do some research on the story, find out what's currently available. The night of the Brown University shootings, and terror attack there, we don't know the motive yet officially. We were running a live blog of just everything that was going on for about 5 or 6, 7 hours, just to keep people informed. And we try to do that, especially in a situation like that where things are unfolding really fast, and keep it updated. And we were updating every 15 minutes or so just to let people know what's going on. And honestly, to people maybe involved in the case or concerned about the case, maybe they have a family member in a situation like that, whatever. That to me is the most important reason in a situation like that, to give up to date information that's verified. If it's not verified, I will put this as unverified, but X, Y, and Z, but verified information. And that way, on the off chance that somebody who is maybe involved in there, or somebody's family member that's trying to get information, they come across it, that they're kept up to date. So shrmedia.com, our articles, unless they're marked opinions, they're not opinions. Deller in the chat room said opinions are good until you disagree with their narrative. Yes, that is factual. Randall said, here's a fact. Bill Gates is a sick. You can finish the sentence. Yeah, that's a strong opinion. And I can't say I disagree with you personally. Joe, I don't know if Joe's ready. He's sitting there in the queue. I don't want to bring him in too early, because if he's getting all of his stuff set up, he's 50-50 on it right now. So that's so he's almost there. And like I said, about 40 minutes or so, President Trump's going to address the nation. I assume a lot of it's going to be about Venezuela, as I've said. He'll probably address a couple other things out there. And, you have a lot of people who are not happy about what's going on in Venezuela right now. And it's a very difficult situation to be in, because Venezuela has a hand in a lot of things, but specifically the poisoning of 100,000 people every year in America, through drugs and fentanyl. And it is a poison, and it is intentionally being overlooked by the government of Venezuela, and is being allowed to flow through until it gets up to us. And that's a problem. Because as much as I don't want to use military force anyhow, anywhere, you have to ask yourself, what can we do as a nation to stop that? I mean, we do a lot of stuff at home. Granted, the last administration didn't, but this administration has been. And it brings you to that question. That's going to be, at the end of the day, what's best for the American citizens. And I think that's what the lens that you have to look at Venezuela. And joining me right now is the host of The Reaver of Common Sense every Monday and Friday here on SHR Media at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. Jersey Joe. Joe, Oh, good evening.
Good evening. What's going on? I did a big boo-boo and I had the tab muted again like the last time. I'm like, why can't I hear anything? Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Technology, man, it gets us all. Just so you know, your sign looks great, but it's bouncing off your chair behind you. There you go.
Yeah.
We get a little contrast behind that.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
Joe, how you been? Joe, how you been?
And finally getting all the medical straightened out, finally getting doctors to do stuff. Got a nice wake-up call today. My one prescription for the first time is going to be $2,000.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, so watching the House try to at least figure out something, I'm sure, is something to pay attention
What, the
to.
CBO said it's going to drop prices down by what, 30 or save $30 billion and drop the price down by like 11% or something.
That's what they're saying. And like I said, usually the CBO isn't.
Yeah, but the CBO usually is more liberal.
Yeah.
They don't usually agree with the Republicans. And this one, they're going, yeah, it's going to save money.
Yeah, go figure. I mean, how dare we save money and save people's money? Well, and the tariffs too. A lot of people are, the tariffs. Food's more expensive right now. Foreign food is. There are some things.
It depends where you're shopping.
It depends on what you're shopping for.
Yeah.
The trade-off to that is it will level out. And you're already starting to see it in some sectors. I think technology will start to level out here shortly.
Gas prices are down.
Gas prices are leveling out. And depending on what happens with Venezuela, it might level out even more.
Exactly. I'm getting tired of the sky is falling from the left, and what makes me even sadder is people are falling for the sky is falling.
Well, I mean, as well as I do, that's all they have left. Really,
everything sky's falling. Oh, okay.
Deller in the chat, who did welcome you back. She waved. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, when I first came on, I said hi to her.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then she said even a broken clock is right every now and again in regards to the CBO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing. And the fact that the Democrats were screaming for how long, the Republicans haven't put anything. Now they put something forward. Oh, no. That's not it. We got to stay with Obamacare.
Yeah, we want you to put something forward that just makes Obamacare a bigger nightmare than it's already been.
Yeah. But we can't blame Obama for it. No.
So it'll be interesting to see what the Senate does with that. Look, the whole shutdown was over Obamacare, essentially.
Pretty much.
The Democrats refusing and then at the end finally admitting, hey, yeah, the only reason Obamacare has worked so long is because we've been subsidizing it massively for the last decade. And if we hadn't been, these prices would have already gone through the roof under Biden. But we knew we couldn't let that happen, so we passed bills to kick it off until right now. When this gets to the Senate, I think we're going to be in the same situation that we were with last month with Obamacare and the continuing resolution. Remember, they wouldn't even sign a continuing resolution for spending levels they've already approved, Joe.
Yeah. And again, I don't know how they still have any support. I don't understand it. It boggles my mind. It really does. Either these polls are wrong, but unfortunately, the last couple elections we had, they weren't that major, but still the fact that they still have support is amazing.
Yeah, and it's we talk about this off the air. We talk about this in chats. We talk about this all the time. The problem you have with Democrats is not necessarily that people are pro-Democrat, just they're anti-Trump and conservatives. Orange man bad syndrome is plaguing Trump derangement syndrome is plaguing this country. It's destroyed people's rational thought. I mean, it blows my mind what people will vote against in order to say I stood against Trump. And how much damage they will do to the country in order to make Trump look bad.
But we're the ones that are in a coal.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I said when Biden got elected, and I said when Obama got elected, and I may not agree with their politics, but I'm rooting for them because I root for the nation and I want the nation to be successful.
Yes.
But that does not necessarily mean that I am a supporter, nor am I anti. The trade-off to that is when confronted with something that they're doing that's worse for the country, I am obviously going to call it out.
Yeah.
But
I've called out Trump, and I've disagreed with him. And one of the big ones I was disagreeing with him on was the blowing up the Senate, the filibuster. I think that's the worst idea he's ever come up with.
Yeah.
And I called it out and argued with people.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because Lisa Ekman, who was a former Democrat, and she wrote the book Deprogramming Democrats, she mentioned that too. That while it may be a short-term gain, and you may be able to get a couple things done that you wouldn't necessarily be able to done, destroying the filibuster takes away the only defense for the minority party in which the Republicans might be in someday. And look, I'm not necessarily a Republican. I'm a conservative. I don't necessarily say I'm a Republican. I say I'm a conservative for a reason.
But how can we sit there and bash the Democrats for how many years about doing it? And now, because Trump said it's supposed to be a good idea, then we're supposed to support it. No, it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Like I said, I get where they're coming from. And I think a lot of people have this theory of, well, if we destroy it, we can push all of Trump's bills through and then you will never lose it again. And in theory, that's a wonderful theory. But
in theory, you can make an elephant stand on an egg without breaking it.
But in reality, that may not always work. And look, actually, Lisa had a wonderful idea. She's like, here's what you do. You nuke the filibuster for budget bills only. And she's like, and then that way, she's like, because the party in power is going to most likely get their way at the end of the day anyhow. They may have to make a few concessions like you saw with the CR, but nothing that's going to absolutely undo them.
Isn't that our government where we're supposed to give and take?
Well, and the other thing too, the budget's supposed to be passed through appropriations, right? I mean, and it was this last budget that the House sent over, the one big beautiful bill, was actually passed with appropriations. There's no celebration for that, which blows my mind because I'm like, hey, we've been screaming for them to do this. They've only done it twice since 1970 something. Everything's been a massive omnibus bill, and the problem with massive omnibus bills is that they get jammed full of pork. Absolutely just murdered with pork that people jam in at the last minute. Look, you just saw it with the military budget that just came out. The amount of stuff, and I talked about it on my show, that Tim Burchett pointed out that they jammed into that bill alone. And it's stuff like museum funding. Like, come on, guys. You'll have a bill to give somebody a proclamation because they tied their shoe in the back door of the House of Representatives. You can fund that one separately. And I will tell you too, like it or not, I think most people in this country, if it is the typical local museum in a rural place that needs $400,000 because it's been around since 1822 and it needs an upgrade, I think most of the country would be like, yeah, okay. Like
we really need to go to single bill, single issue bills, and it would stop a lot of the bullshit.
Yep.
But I want to touch on Della. She's talking about with the filibuster again. And that was one of my things. And number one, why do we want to do away with the filibuster? Well, the Democrats are going to do it. So we do it for them?
Right.
I never understood. Oh, you're going to rob me? So let me give you my gun so you can rob me, because you're going to rob me. So let me give you the gun. All right. If they change it, that's them. We cannot control what they do. Secondly, you're then giving them the ability. Okay, Trump gets all these massive things done. And as soon as they get in power, what are they going to do? they can reverse everything Trump has done with ease, and then
much easier because now they don't have a filibuster in the way.
Yeah,
and
we handed it to him. It's here you go.
I do get the theory of.
I do too, and I understand the frustration, but
yeah, but at some point you have to pick it. You have to be tactical. And I don't think people like that as much as having the big slam dunk. And look, I understand the big slam dunk because you've watched what Democrats have done to this country for decades now, right? Since Obama, you've watched the BS that they've pulled. Look, we have Obamacare. We have Obamacare, which was an absolute disaster and has been proven to be one of the biggest failures of government since I don't know when. Intelligence and 9/11, I guess, would be the next biggest failure prior to that. But Obamacare has repeatedly and continuously proven that it's a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand when they're like, well, we could just undo everything quickly because in Obamacare and this and that. I get it. I get where you're going. I get you want the slam dunk because it's going to help in the midterms. I totally get it. But you know what? The trade-off to that is what happens in the next midterms if you're not in power and you're trying to gain power back. And if you just pass the bills that need to be passed, take appropriations, take funding out of it for a minute. All the other bills that Trump's asking for that you don't need a 60 vote to get passed. You can get passed with 51 because there are those votes, there are those bills out there.
Yeah.
Start passing those like crazy.
Well, I think that's what you're going to see. And Mike Johnson said he did, 150 of the executive orders are going to be slammed through after January. And I think I'm wondering if that was their plan the whole time to hold off on a lot of this stuff till after January. So it's more fresh in the minds for the midterms.
Well,
Does that make sense?
No, and you're 100% right. Randall Todd in chat on Facebook, Randall, money to other countries while vets are homeless and healthcare sucks so bad. How is that not a win? Yeah, I agree with all of that. Don't get me wrong. There's parts of that I 100% agree with. And I get what you're saying. Look, the homeless vets in this country has been an issue for years, and both parties have failed to act on that even before Trump. I mean, this is going on well before Trump. This is going on even after Korean War. After World War II, the country really made a solid effort to make sure that our vets were taken care of, right? I mean, that's why a lot of what people call housing projects were used to be called veteran housing. They were built for veterans after World War I and World War II, so they had a place to get back on their feet again. A lot of people don't know that. All those brick houses in the Northeast and on the East Coast that are apartment buildings that are now project housing, most of those were housing for for vets after they came back so they get back on their feet. I get that, especially post-Vietnam. Our vets, both the Veterans Association and just how we treat them in general, have been treated like garbage. And they throw good things at them, like the education bill, the GI Bill, healthcare, which the problem with that is it's great in theory, but it's an absolute wrecked system that has to be absolutely fixed.
It's a government run on healthcare. And that's a perfect example why we don't need it or want it.
Yep. So it's something that we have to address. But like you pointed out, everything that you do when you remove the filibuster, the next time they have power, it's all going away. And that also includes, might I add, gun laws. I mean, we saw what the assault weapon ban did to our Second Amendment. And that's something that you have to worry about. So you always got to be tactical. Yeah. Are you getting another coffee delivery?
Yeah, the other one there's something wasn't right about it. So, and
imagine, when I talk about how spoiled you are, you have a PA that will not only make you a first cup of coffee, but when it wasn't good, you texted her to come fix it.
Joe, I got a good PA.
I'm telling you, man. I'll tell you right now.
You're just jealous that your PA won't do anything except meow and scratch at you. And I had her bring in.
Oh, your new post.
There we go.
Deller in the chat. Open up the market for insurance companies.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Here's one thing I never understood, and I don't know why the Republicans haven't attacked the Democrats with this. They scream and moan about billionaires and how Trump and all these Republicans are giving billionaires money. And what the hell did they do with Obamacare? That fed the CEOs of those companies billions of dollars in their pockets. Ooh. That would explain it.
Ooh, boy. For all
I'll pay for that one later without knowing.
I would defend her, except she's been extra mean to me lately, so it's really hard for me to defend Mrs. Eber at that point.
I had to be a smart ass when we came on, when you first came on there with the BZ. I thought it was funny. Everybody else started jumping in.
Randall asked, what about the foreigners who shout death to America? Yeah, no, they all get to go. And we're doing that. And I'm sure that'll be talked about tonight as far as progress under Trump's speech to the nation. And look, we're up over 2 million. For people who don't understand the logistics of getting 2 million people out of a country, look, they were
job
all
numbers alone. Look at.
Well, and you look at how they got here, right? They were allowed to go to South America, Central America, and Mexico. They were allowed to form up and then rush the border. They had footings, right? They had footholds. We're not sending them back on the same trail they came in from. We're rounding them up. Some of the 1 million people self-deported. They were smart.
And we gave them free plane rides home.
And look, Trump is, people are underestimating what the administration's doing right now, because he's bringing families together back in their home countries for Christmas. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
Exactly. Yeah. I could bring up another. Randall, I don't mean to jump, but it just popped in my head.
Randall, I think it's more than 15 million. But I think somebody said, if you look at all the undocumented illegals in this country right now, not just under the Biden administration, but in total, it's up closer to 49 million.
Yeah. Because we were talking, some of the things. The one Democrat that has shocked me, and I've been against supporting him, and I don't support him, but Fetterman. Did you see the article, of course, that I wrote today?
Yes.
Where Fetterman came out and said that the military has turned down strikes because they don't know who's on what boat and what's on it. But the boats that they have hit, they know exactly who they are and what's on there. What the hell got in Fetterman that he is just...
I don't know what the answer is to that, Joe. And here's the article right now on shrmedia.com if people want to go over and take a look at it that you wrote. But I don't know if the stroke legitimately, and this isn't being a joke, if the stroke honestly changed his thinking a little bit, where he started to kind of ground himself, because he was pretty liberal and progressive prior to that. I don't know if it was a struggle with mental health that he went through after the stroke. People forget that he checked himself in and got some help for a while. I don't know what the answer is, or,
well, like you said, him having the stroke.
Oh, go ahead.
With him having the stroke, my mom actually said, I think it was this morning we were talking about. Sorry about that. Both him and Trump aren't the same people after what they experienced. Trump almost getting shot and Fetterman having that stroke and almost dying. That changes people. And like you were just getting ready to say, and I'll let you finish with it. It changed him. It changed the way he looks at things, probably.
Yeah. And all that's possible. The other side of it is he could have got to DC and realized how things were really working. And maybe he wasn't necessarily on the right side of history.
Yeah.
And that's entirely possible too. Because remember, he was just like a small town mayor. And maybe he was in the Pennsylvania House. I can't remember exactly, but he didn't have the insight and the intelligence that he has now. And he could have had just a natural awakening where he would get there and say, oh, wow, I had no idea what I was talking about before. But you're right. Both of them were different people after the fact. And look, talked about it, at least I know BZ touched on it last night. you go into the whole murder with Rob Reiner, and everyone's like, oh, Trump said it was horrible. Trump, look, I don't agree with it per se, and I wouldn't have written anything like that. The trade-off to that is Rob Reiner didn't spend my entire presidency both times comparing me to Nazis, comparing me to Hitler, calling me all of these horrific things, hanging out with the people that were trying to set me up illegally, and hanging out with the deep staters, yada yada yada. And
Compared to what Reiner said to what Trump said, there is no comparison. Trump,
yeah.
I don't agree with it, but you know what? I don't think he said anything really that vile. We've seen a lot worse.
Yeah, and the Democrats jumped on it because
they have nothing else.
All they had, right? So it has to be, oh, he's a horrible, mean person. And I saw Eric Swalwell responded to another comment earlier tonight, and did he mention the two that were butchered in their home? Blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, I look, I think it's terrible what happened to Rob Reiner. I like Rob Reiner movies. I think he's an unbelievable director. I liked him as Meathead. Politically,
no person deserves that.
Right.
Well, sorry, I know one person that does deserve it, but
as of right now, no. In general, no people deserve.
Well, the guy that shot my father. So yeah, I think I have a right to say something like that. But otherwise, no man, no woman deserves that, especially from their kid.
You don't deserve that in that situation, right?
Well, any which way, but especially that your kid.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That was just.
Well, that's why I actually fell asleep and my dogs woke me up, and I grabbed my phone. I was just looking through it, trying to get tired again, and I saw that. I was like, I had to get up and do the article.
The story of it that they were in an argument with Bill Hader, or the son was in an argument with Bill Hader, who used to be on Saturday Night Live at a Conan O'Brien party. The son's had problems for a long time.
Oh, he's had massive drugs, and it sounds like he's in another episode because what I was reading, he was running up to everybody in the party going, "Are you famous? Are you famous? Are you famous?"
He was not.
He wasn't as. He's destroyed the house before. One of the neighbors said they've been in conversations trying to get him treatment again, and he didn't want to do in-house therapy. He wanted to stay at his parents'. They wanted him to go to in-house treatment. It's a sad situation,
but the trade-off to that is when you bring yourself into the political sphere, and you're not even. Look, there's some people out there who are famous and they're Democrats, and all they just say is that, like, I don't like Trump. I don't agree with Trump. Everyone's all upset, and I didn't even see the direct quote. Everyone's all upset that Chris Pratt said that he thought Trump was divisive or whatever. Look, on those on a one-on-one conversation, they say something occasionally, whatever. That part doesn't bother me per se. Everyone has the right to their opinions. Look, I am not famous, and I pay for a microphone in order to bash Democrats. Like, that's what I do, right?
Well, and Mick Foley, I don't know if you know who that is.
Allegedly, yeah, I don't know.
He has cut ties with WWE because he does not agree that WWE should have any type of coziness with Trump. So he separated himself. I think it's an idiot move. I mean, he really hasn't been active, but you know what? That's his right. Go ahead. He's not out there, Hitler this, Trump, Nazis, Gestapo, and all that shit. But he disagrees that strongly and he wants to do it, by all means.
But when you cross a line and you start, and this is, like I said, this is just the Trump response that I'm speaking to here, not the overall incident. But when you respond in the ways that he did and the attacks verbally that he made on Trump, I'll give him credit. I think he didn't after the shooting, say that never should have happened, yada, yada, yada. But the trade-off to that is, for years, we've been talking about how the Democrats' words, politicians and otherwise, have created that situation. And when you call somebody or refer to somebody as Hitler alike or a Nazi, eventually, as we've seen, something's going to happen. And look, we're at this point right now, and I'm going to read this quote from Della in a second. We're at this point right now where you have what happened in Rhode Island, which I think we all know where that's going to go. I'm not going to speculate yet. You have the Bellevue police officer stabbings. This is just this week. You had there was another the
A
DC
professor got killed in his house.
Huh?
What was it? MIT professor?
MIT professor killed in his house. You had the Virginia shooter, the DC shooter rather. 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago now. And then you had the communists group, the Turtle Island people, who got arrested for creating bombs, and they were going to be viable bombs. And I don't know.
Sorry, Turtle Island group. It does not sound.
I know.
Hi, you're here. We're here, the Turtle Island group. We're going to blow your building up. I
was having a text message conversation about what names didn't stick, that they actually went with that name, and it's crazy. But yeah, no,
the Unicorn 5,
all of those groups right now, and all of those people right now, and I think there's a lot more coordination going on right now than we know about with evildoers in this country. That this
I'm
is
sorry, if you look at all the common denominators, there seems to be one major common denominator again amongst 90% of what you just talked about. I mean, even the Rhode Island shooter, now look at the person that they want to talk to, that female, I think it is. And
I'll tell you right now, from a law enforcement perspective, and working in law enforcement for a long time in my life, I've never seen such a massive case be so botched with any sort of regularity. I've never, ever seen it.
That chief looks incompetent.
Beyond incompetent.
He makes the chief from The Simpsons look like a star detective.
We are less than 24 hours from them putting this out.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're like, oh no, he's not a person of interest, but the person or gal that we just put out, we saw them hanging out with that person potentially prior. They might have crossed paths. They could have not seen each other, and that person may not have even have been in the country when it happened. It's like, dude, what do we look at?
Wait a minute, Rand, that incident attack, the woman?
Yeah,
that one was
the acid attack in Savannah, Georgia. That's another one that just happened too.
There was another attack in North Carolina of a convicted felon. That yeah.
Not trying to make light of the other incidents, but the meme game in the last 24 hours regarding the Providence Police Department.
I'm sure our listeners know by now, kind of like our backgrounds in the dark humor that we have used over the eons of what we do to help.
So he's Jersey Joe. I'm Sackhead Sean. He's the host of the Reaver of Common Sense.
I'm Jersey Joe. You're Sackhead Sean.
And I will be on doing all of this over again at 8:00 tonight, which is going to be fun because I'm using all my material now to kill time while we're waiting for Donald Trump, the president, to address the nation.
Roughly 10 minutes and 16 seconds.
As they say. I want to get back to the chat. Della Pauline said, Daddy said no money. He knew where it was going, up his nose. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that was one of the big conversations. And I'm sure the embarrassment factor, I'm sure Dad had some words for him after. And I don't know. I wasn't there. These are just guesses. Randall Todd in the chat says,
Skynet
AI will be the downfall of America. Cashless America, we are screwed. Look, digital ID in cashless America is the worst thing that could possibly happen. I agree with you there.
Skynet.
Yeah, it's we were talking about this with Lisa when I did the interview with her this week. It's all going to come down to what gets put in place to protect us from AI. And the problem is the people that are making these laws and rules have no idea about AI. Chuck Schumer, you think Chuck Schumer is so knowledgeable in AI that he can be involved in a law to protect us from AI? He can't even cook fucking cheeseburgers. Sorry, I know this is a network event and I have to watch my language, but you think AOC knows anything about AI? I mean, to her, AI was a drink she used to make as a bartender, probably. Like, there's no rhyme or reason.
Did you see that poll that came out that has her beating Vance?
Yeah, I don't believe anything right now. We're not even in the midterms.
Oh, I don't believe it either. I just thought it was funny.
I'm not going to put this And I'm not, if you read the chat and answer to your questions in there, and it's not because I'm protecting somebody, but I just don't want anybody, I don't want anything to be used that doesn't need to be used later in life. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that being said, I hope the uncle is successful. I can understand why. But you know, it's one of those things that as we
Also, our prayers go out to her for a speedy and
oh
safe recovery, because
I-
I was actually talking to my wife last night about that incident, and it just
and
disgusting.
you know what? We always talk about Europe being 5-10 years ahead of us in the worst possible ways, especially with immigration attacks. This has been going on in Europe for a long time now, and we haven't seen it overly often here in America. And now we've seen it, what, twice in a week? And it's gonna get worse. It is absolutely going to get worse. Um, it just it's frightening. If it's scary, and the problem is you're dealing with people. And look, the expectation that people who want to come here to be locusts on all of our wealth and what we've built as a nation, um, is different than people that want to come here to be an American. And the people who want to come here to be an American do it the right way. They file, they do all the paperwork. Um, and
The
they actually want
fantasies.
to be Americans for the most part. Obviously, there's some in there that just play the game, but they're Americans that play the game. So, I mean, the difference is the citizens have way more rights than they should. But the people that fled this nation, that have zero intent on assimilating, they have zero intent of keeping to themselves.
White House speeds up.
Oh,
It's just the typical. We will begin shortly, but the feed's up at least.
no, that's outstanding because that at least lets me get set.
Yeah.
And of course, we're just be covering this here or carrying this here in about 7 minutes as President Trump's expected to address the nation. He will be talking about allegedly all the successes that the country's had, the administration's had, what they want for 2026 and what they're hoping to get in 2026. And who knows? Because, like I said, it's Trump. Um, whilst he is usually much more disciplined in these sort of speeches from behind the desk in the Oval Office, he's also Donald J. Trump. And along with that comes the potential of hearing from Donald J. Trump off script. He doesn't like scripts. He likes bullet points, and he talks off of those bullet points. But
I'll tell you, that's one of the things I like about him.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
He can have a conversation with people, and that's one of the things that I was actually thinking about doing a piece on. If you look at the Democrats, everything's pre-written, everything's fake, everything's staged with them. You can't have a conversation with them, because if you ask something that's off their script, it's like a robot that just got water dumped on it. That was the right thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's
All right.
I think that's one of the things that most people like about Donald Trump. Tonight will be much drier probably than his usual, but I think most people like that when Trump speaks, you at least know what he thinks. And he speaks to people individually, and he speaks to people collectively. He does a good job of doing both. He'll speak to the mass, but he'll also say things that make people individually seen in whatever their situation is. He reaches people. And however imperfect he has been, and he will be, because none of us are perfect, he has shown that his efforts go into the average citizen, or go towards the average citizen, which the Democrats hate even more, because instead of all the citizens being on an equal plane, they absolutely prefer to have everybody separated and everybody fighting each other and arguing with each other. That's what they want, the chaos and they like to be the common quote unquote unifier, where they come in and say, oh, well, I know you hate each other and you hate each other, but we can all agree that you guys love me. Right? That's what the Democrats do. That's what they've been doing. And Trump is showing the nation that things don't have to exist that way. And you look at the amount of people who were not quote unquote conservative Republicans 10 years ago, even the groups that have suddenly come into the fold, different races, different backgrounds, all this stuff, who says, hey, that, you know what? He speaks for me. He speaks for me. And I'm glad he's there. And it's unbelievable to watch, because it really shows you how far beyond he has reached than any other president has. I mean, you look at the black vote and the Hispanic vote he got last time, and I don't think, I know CNN and a lot of other people are crying wolf, and that, oh, he's it's not going to happen. He's not going to get the same votes to go. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I know a lot of Mexican heritage American citizens who support Trump and are not backing away from it. Right?
No, I countless Hispanics that I know, that are Trump supporters, and they're tired of illegals. They hate it, and they love watching these illegals get busted. They love it.
They came in the right way. Their parents came in the right way. They came here to live the American dream, and they are Americans. Randall says you'll own nothing and be happy, they say. Randall, is that BZ in disguise? Because he said so many BZ-esque things this evening that it's like BZ's in the room with us. You're right. That is their whole approach, is you will own nothing and be happy. And then you'll be even more thankful for what we give you, because you'll have nothing to begin with. Yeah, it's Stockholm syndrome. I hate to say it. At the end of the day, it's a version of Stockholm syndrome, because it is completely, I am going to make everybody individually happy, and then I'm just going to hold you there and give you little tidbits until you fall in love with me. That's what the Democrats have been doing since Obama, before Obama. And we're seeing it on full display right now. We're about 2 minutes out. I do have the stream ready. 1 minute out now officially. Just as I said it, the clock changed. All right.
No, it was like it hit 1 minute on another broadcast, just as you said, 2 minutes. I just happen to have a certain person that both me and you watch also up and running.
Oh, okay.
And you know who I'm talking about. I don't know if you want to give a shout out or not.
Yeah, Della, he will definitely mention the dignified transfer. And I'm sure he'll say something about the DC guardsman as well.
Yes, dude, that one is,
he's up walking around,
breathing, and he got shot in the friggin' head. That just
miracle, miracle. And I'm thankful for that. But Trump always does a good job of making sure that he acknowledged like that.
And
I'm sure he will.
Federal court today ruled the troops can stay there.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I wish they weren't.
I wish they weren't needed either. But you know what? That shooting just proved they're needed.
Well, but it's not. Again, it's one of those things that I don't. Well, you're talking about DC. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're talking about DC. My brain was in Syria for a second. You're right.
Oh, no, DC. I'm talking.
Yeah, you're right.
That shooting just showed that they're needed in there. If someone is so brazen in the middle of the day to shoot 2 National Guards, you need extra, because the I hate to say it, the law enforcement wasn't doing
well. And we're finding out now the police chief in DC stepped down this week, or she will be stepping down, because it's coming to light that she cooked the books. They were cooking the books on crime for a long time, and I have a feeling there are going to be prosecutions for that at some point, because
there needs to be. And then we've talked about it, and I'm not against. I understand it takes time. I understand it takes years to build a case. I do understand that, but we need to start stop letting these people and these politicians get away with this shit, and they need to start being prosecuted. The sanctuary city governors, sanctuary city mayors, all of them, they need to be prosecuted when they interfere with ICE.
I do wonder now that, well, look, midterms will start in about March. That's when we'll really start seeing the midterms. And then, Trump's got nothing else to run on, so he's got nothing else to constrain him politically. Um, it'll be interesting to see what happens then. But you're right, a lot of cases do take a while. And even when you have all the information, to build a case with that information takes a long time. It takes a lot of efforts. People don't realize that, especially when you're dealing with national security complexities. You're dealing with so many statistical complexities. You're dealing with so many other things that it is very, very difficult to have it. And look, you also have to remember, you don't know who is intentionally trying to hide shit. And now you have to go back and try. We all know a lot of things up front, right? We can all say, well, I know this is true. I know that's true. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. That's
True.
how cool it
Yep.
works. And if the opposing side
It's starting.
his President Trump.
which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. This happened during a Democrat administration, and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability. Our border was open, and because of this, our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people, many who came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. They were drug dealers, gang members, and even 11,888 murderers, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. This is what the Biden administration allowed to happen to our country, and it can never be allowed to happen again. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels with law enforcement, and words such as that just absolutely forbidden. We had the worst trade deals ever made, and our country was laughed at from all over the world. But they're not laughing anymore. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. There's never been anything like it, and I think most would agree. I was elected in a landslide, winning the popular vote and all 7 swing states and everything else, with a mandate to take on a sick and corrupt system that really just took the wealth from people and crushed the dreams of the American people. For the last 4 years, the United States was ruled by politicians who fought only for insiders, illegal aliens, career criminals, corporate lobbyists, prisoners, terrorists, and above all, foreign nations, which took advantage of us at levels never seen before. They flooded your cities and towns with illegal aliens. They decimated your hard-earned savings. They indoctrinated your children with hate for America. They just released a level of violent felons that we had never seen to prey on innocent. They caused war. They caused mayhem. They caused a horrible situation all over the globe. But now you have a president who fights for the law-abiding, hardworking people of our country, the ones who make this nation run, who make this nation work. And after just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined. Starting on day one, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president. We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. In other words, in a few short months, we went from worst to best. We're deporting criminals, restoring safety to our most dangerous cities. Just take a look at Washington, D.C. It's at levels of safety that we've never seen before. And they decimated the bloodthirsty foreign drug cartels. We did that all by ourselves with our people, and we're so proud of it because they were poisoning and destroying our population. Drugs brought in by ocean and by sea are now down 94%. We have broken the grip of sinister woke radicals in our schools, and control over those schools is back now in the hands of our great and loving states where education belongs. After rebuilding the United States military in my first term, and with the addition we are adding right now, we have the most powerful military anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. I've restored American strength, settled 8 wars in 10 months, destroyed the Iran nuclear threat, and ended the war in Gaza, bringing for the first time in 3,000 years peace to the Middle East, and secured the release of the hostages, both living and dead. Here at home, we're bringing our economy back from the brink of ruin. The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our Treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices and everything at levels never seen before. I am bringing those high prices down and bringing them down very fast. Let's look at the facts. Under the Biden administration, car prices rose 22% and in many states 30% or more. Gasoline rose 30 to 50%. Hotel rates rose 37%. Airfares rose 31%. Now under our leadership, they are all coming down and coming down fast. Democrat politicians also sent the cost of groceries soaring, but we are solving that too. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down 33% compared to the Biden last year. The price of eggs is down 82% since March, and everything else is falling rapidly. And it's not done yet, but boy, are we making progress. Nobody can believe what's going on. Here are just some of the efforts that we have underway. You will see in your wallets and bank accounts in the new year. After years of record-setting falling incomes, our policies are boosting take-home pay at a historic pace. Under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has seen a wage increase of $1,300. For construction workers, it's $1,800. For miners, we're bringing back clean, beautiful coal. It's $3,300. And for the first time in years, wages are rising much faster than inflation. Remember that. The wages, just look at it. Wages are going up much faster than inflation. How big is that? Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history, and 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. Think of that. 100% of all jobs have been in the private sector rather than government, which is the only way to make a country powerful and great. This historic trend will continue. Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully by other countries against us, but not anymore. Companies know that if they build in America, there are no tariffs, and that's why they're coming home to the USA in record numbers. They're building factories and plants at levels we haven't seen, AI, automobiles. We're doing what nobody thought was even possible, not even remotely possible. There has never, frankly, been anything like it. 1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and that's said by every single leader that I've spoken to over the last 5 months. Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished through our great, big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping legislation ever passed in Congress. We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time. Because of tariffs, along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everybody. And by the way, we now have record enlistment in our military, and last year we had among the worst recruitment numbers in our military's history. What a difference a year makes. In addition, I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interests to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs. I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward, and I used the threat of tariffs to get foreign countries who would never have done it to pay the cost of this giant dollar reduction. They stopped ripping us off, and it began as of 4 days ago. There has never been anything like this in the history of our country. Drugs have only gone up, but now they'll be going down by numbers never conceived possible. It's called Most Favored Nation, and no president has ever had the courage or ability to get this done until now. The first of these unprecedented price reductions will be available starting in January through a new website, trumprx.gov. And these big price cuts will greatly reduce the cost of health care. I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people, that's you, so they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower costs. It will be far better health insurance. The current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich. It was bad health care at much too high a cost, and you see that now in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Unaffordable Care Act, and everybody knew it. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich, and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. They will not be happy, but that's okay with me because you, the people, are finally going to be getting great health care at a lower cost. Another major focus is the cost of energy. For years, the radical left Democrats exploited the green energy scam as an excuse to funnel many billions of dollars into their own massive slush funds as their energy restrictions drastically drove up prices, and they drove them up at record levels. Electricity costs surged 30 to 100% under Biden, and the typical family lost $5,000 to $10,000 in higher energy costs. Think of that, $5,000 to $10,000 you lost. On day one, I declared a national energy emergency. Gasoline is now under $2.50 a gallon in much of the country. In some states, it, by the way, just hit $1.99 a gallon. And within the next 12 months, we will have opened 1,600 new electrical generating plants, a record, and it's a record that won't be beaten by practically, I would say, by anybody. or certainly not very soon, prices on electricity and everything else will fall dramatically. The Democrat inflation disaster, again, the worst in the history of our country, also robbed millions of Americans of home ownership and indeed the American dream. The yearly cost of a typical new mortgage increased by $15,000 under Democrat rule. In 11 months, we've already gotten that annual cost down by $3,000, and it's coming down a lot lower. Wait till you see. The numbers are going to be shocking. And I'll soon announce our next chairman of the Federal Reserve, someone who believes in lower interest rates by a lot, and mortgage payments will be coming down even further. Early the new year, and you will see this, in the new year I will announce some of the most aggressive housing reform plans in American history. A major factor in driving up housing costs was the colossal border invasion. We have never been invaded. This is the worst thing that, frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of migrants and gave them taxpayer-funded housing while your rent and housing costs skyrocketed. Over 60% of growth in the rental market came from foreign migrants. At the same time, illegal aliens stole American jobs and flooded emergency rooms, getting free health care and education paid for by you, the American taxpayer. They also increased the cost of law enforcement by numbers so high that they are not even to be mentioned. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration as migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans. In the year before my election, all net creation of jobs was going to foreign migrants. Since I took office, 100% of all net job creation has gone to American-born citizens, 100%. In the end, government either serves the productive, patriotic, hardworking American citizen, or it serves those who break the laws, cheat the system, and seek power and profit at the expense of our nation. Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars from Minnesota and indeed from the United States of America. And we're going to put an end to it. For so long as before my election, the vast majority of good and decent Americans were forced to watch as corrupt politicians plundered the halls of power, exploited our taxpayers, and pillaged every system that makes civilized society function. But not anymore, and you see that every day, not anymore. We're putting America first, and we are making America great again. Very simple. We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected, and our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
So nothing about Venezuela. I was kind of shocked by that. Um, President Trump hit on literally everything that he's accomplished so far, and the Republicans as well, so far in his first 2 years, what will be 2 years here shortly. Sorry, 1 year. I'm flash forwarding 1 year. Everything from immigration, the economy, ending wars, building the military, bringing prices down, presenting all these graphs that I'll go through on SHR Media on the Edge of Liberty tonight. A bonus for the military, $1,776 bonus for the military, which I am okay with. The military is vastly underpaid for what they do. I will sit here and tell you that you will not hear me argue that ever. Reactions from the chat room. Mission ready men in the chat. Not what I expected, but I'll take it. Yeah, not what I expected either. I was fully expecting it to be mostly about Venezuela. Dylan chat said, president for the people. Reverb common sense. Supposedly he's going to hit the campaign trails for the midterm. I've heard that as well. Mission ready men again earlier. He needed to do this. He needs to hammer these messages from now to the midterms. I agree. O2 AMT noted that gas prices often get raised by state taxes. Yeah, I agree. Maine, you mentioned Maine. I'm in California. It's what, $1.60 a gallon in taxes alone. He was described as fired up during his speech. River Common Sense said, is it me? Does he sound pissed? So a lot of good feedback in the chat room so far. And I definitely agree that I thought it was a speech that he had to make. I thought it was a good speech. And I think that it will be full of great sound bites for the midterm starting here in just a couple of months. So that's going to be it for this broadcast of the president's speech. I will be back in, well, hour and a half plus 7 minutes, hour 37 minutes, to bring you the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network, where I'll talk about all this. I took notes the entire time, which is why my headphones weren't in, because I was trying to take notes. And I will break this all down as well as other stories coming up tonight, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast on the SHR Media Network. Please like and subscribe from wherever you're watching from. We're still trying to get up over 700 on YouTube. So if you could do us the favor and go over to YouTube, search SHR Media, you'll see our logo. And please subscribe. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Thank you, Jersey Joe, for jumping in, filling some time with us, waiting for 9 o'clock to roll around. Make sure you check out all the great shows on SHR Media. Not just mine. Mine's pretty good. But BZ's Berserk, Bobcat Saloon, Mission Ready Men Report. Of course, Reverb Common Sense, Jersey Joe, who you saw earlier. And on Sundays, you have the Lost Wanderer show on our YouTube. I appreciate you being with us, and I will see you in about an hour and a half.